My name is Trzupek Lynch. I graduated from the University of Illinois in 1994 with a bachelor's degree in history. I live in Evanston currently. I have 4 kids. I got my master's in public policy from the University of Chicago, and I currently I'm the founding CEO of Skills for Chicagoland's Future, a not-for-profit based in Chicago that puts unemployed back to work. Essentially, the concept of it is it's basically to work with employers to put unemployed and underemployed into jobs. But the problem it's trying to solve is that there is a flood of federal funding which allows organizations to get people job ready, but those organizations are not actually connected to the employer. And so we took the model and we turned it upside down, and we started with the employer. And essentially, I have a consulting and recruiting group that works with the employers to find out what they are looking for, and we go and find the talent in the South and West Side neighborhoods. So we start with the job first, which means your placement rates are going to be exceptionally high because you have agreements, buy-in, and a view into what employers are looking for. So we've become an extension of a number of corporate employers who want to hire from the neighborhoods but don't know how to hire from the neighborhoods. They're used to hiring from U of I, and we are their recruiting source to go into those neighborhoods. And it's truly a extraordinary privilege to be able to build. So I was a joiner. I was in Student Alumni Association. I was in an organization called Band Jam. I was in a sorority. I volunteered at community organizations around House Runaway Shelter. I was an orientation student leader. And so aligning union board was a natural next step of having been involved in so many of those pieces. So through my the student organizations I was involved in, I heard about the Illini Union and I applied. And to date, it still serves as the hardest interview I've ever had in my life. And I think one of the most beneficial interviews because nothing can be as hard as that one for the rest of, So it was a really rigorous process, I think different than I understand it is today. But it was an extraordinary experience. My memory does not include particular programs. What I remember, I knew we put on a lot of programs. That's actually not what stands out to me. What stands out to me is because the selection process was so rigorous and there was such a focus on diversity, and because the political climate at the time here, Chief Illini was a really big issue that was very unsettled. There was a number of affinity groups happening. Political correctness was really kind of on the scene. We had an extraordinary group of diverse leaders from across the university who'd come together on the Illini Union Board, and so my memories are actually much stronger about our retreat together, our group conversations, about learning about life in the inner city, and about debating what types of speakers to bring in, and debating kind of the different affinity groups and making sure that we were providing equitable programming more than I can remember the exact programs we put on. But it was more like the debate and the dialogue and the richness of the group of people. I think that group of people and the diversity of perspective, along with a political tolerance class I took at the history department at the same time, and what was happening in the political climate was really eye-opening for me, and it was extraordinary to be, talking to student leaders who were, from South and West Side neighborhoods in Chicago and the different experiences. And it was because we were such a tight group and we had a retreat and we were so respectful, it was an incredibly safe place to really have conversations that probably 40, 50, and 60-year-olds would like to have, but can't. It's too late. So it was, it really provided that foundation for me and really helped me see a variety of perspectives, which also, being a girl from Villa Park, which is a very blue-collar community, I saw when I came here, I saw that there were kids who had all these AP classes. We had one. Only 50% of my class went to college. And so at some point along the way, probably before IUB, I felt I started to see kind of the disadvantage of the neighborhood I'd come from, but then that was balanced out by really spending time with students who'd come from Chicago public schools and hearing their experience, and I saw a real ability to relate, having neighbors, personally having neighbors that were, blue collar, and the limitations that provided, but then being able to look beyond that to see, for the other students what they grew up with. It was definitely foundational, and it took probably about 10 or 12 years later to really probably solidify for me that economic mobility was the issue I was most passionate about. But that was definitely, the IUB was definitely where the groundwork for that was started. It's emotional. Like I'm surprised, actually. It's emotional. I'd come a couple years ago with my son, but today is more emotional because I was a Turner Fellow and I met with the Turner Fellows. I met with the history students and was really inspired by just how together they are, and like gives me so much hope for the future. Talking to them, they're so with it. And walking into the doors of the Illini Union on the side just brought back a flood of memories. Everything from, I mean, it is really emotional. Like you just, all of a sudden, like you're back. And it brought back everything from remembering how much time I spent here with my fellow Illini Union board members doing the programming, and how comfortable, and we had such great, Susan Mall and Bill, I can't remember his last name, but we had some great, outstanding advisors, to also remembering that walking in that side door many times, because that's where we would walk to bring our checks to be able to get, I remember like very well getting $15 or $10 so I could go to the bars for the evening. And so, it's kind of this combination of emotions. $10 was more than enough money for the night. I ran for student trustee. After the Illini Union Board, I ran for student trustee, and I did not win. I didn't run a particularly good campaign, and I learned that I really liked the leadership responsibility, but I wasn't at that point so interested in all kind of the grassroots aspects of putting chalk on the ground and doing all that. I wanted to lead, but that was, I don't know, getting up early and doing that. That was a learning for me, because I always thought I wanted to run for political office. And my joke always from that point on was like, well, if you can't win for student trustee at the U of I, you probably shouldn't run for office. And many people have told me like that really should actually be my story of why I'm going to try again someday. So that was a good memory. I mentioned to you this retreat we took as the Illini Union Board that really stands out. And we went into an Amish neighborhood and an Amish restaurant, and our student board leaders were easily 70% diverse, and seeing that experience through their eyes and being able to hear them talk about it and seeing how they were received, definitely life-changing. It was extraordinary. I'm really glad we went through that. I have a lot of positive, like a band jam was really fun. What a great way to see concerts. That was a really good time. And then I spent a lot of time as a Turner Fellow, an orientation student leader, and so my memories are strong about all the organizations, and the people I met. Orientation student leader, being here for a summer was really fun. So I was just the activities and the people was probably more than anything else. One piece of advice. So my one piece of advice is, at least for me, I'm very pragmatic, and one of the things that I think is really valuable about going to U of I is you can be invisible or you can distinguish yourself. And I felt a real competitive advantage when I graduated from both college and graduate school, because you had to work here to distinguish yourself. And when you go to the work world, you have to distinguish yourself to get a job. And I think U of I is an exceptional experience to push you to do that. And so I would say use that time to figure out ways to distinguish yourself. The other piece of advice I would give that I think is really important is I did a lot of shadowing. I'd call like an alumni, and I thought I wanted to be a lawyer, and I shadowed the Student Alumni Association. I shadowed a lawyer and realized I don't want to be a lawyer. I thought I wanted to be a teacher. I took a class. We were in the Urbana Middle School. I realized after 2 days I didn't want to be a teacher. And so if you're interested, it's not just within the book, but call up an alumni, go shadow, or call up mentor, have an informational interview, and try it out before you invest 4 years of an education and realize you don't want to do it.